story is, well, I wish it were more rare and unusual. But Mary Lucia, who really was a household name here in the Twin Cities, and she's with us in studio. It's always weird to be talking about someone who's standing right next to you. Hi, Mary.
I was.
Well,
could I have the present tense? Yes.
You know, I mean, I was famous, and then I came to AM radio. I don't know. What are you going to do? We all have our moments. I think you're still a household name.
I would like to think
which
so.
is certainly evidenced by the response to your book, which I read a couple of weeks ago, and it still is sitting with me. The book is called What Doesn't Kill Me Makes Me Weirder and Harder to Relate to. And that title, I think, sets up the fact that this book is incredibly entertaining, and it also just pissed me off, Mary.
I'm glad it did. I'm glad it did both, because that was certainly my intention. You know, I got to say that writing a book with a subject matter that is this grim and frankly traumatic to think about and reform my feelings about it, it was just inevitable that I would also include some ridiculous stories about my own life, just so that somebody knows exactly who I am. And this ridiculous thing happened to me.
You were stalked, and that is sort of the every other chapter construct of this book. I have worked with so many women, and it's way worse for women in broadcasting, radio, television, whatever, than men. Men get their share of weirdos, but they don't usually show up at our house.
I think that there's probably a hierarchy. Maybe it's TV, radio, print, just in terms of the amount of attention unwanted that you get. But I've known since I started in 1994 at Rev 105 that there's always somebody who's a little too big a fan, a little too boundaryless. And you do learn to discern, okay, who is really not a threat, but I still wish they would go away. And when it really crosses over into a place of true, just the threat all the time, I think you realize when to take it absolutely seriously. And like I said, it wasn't my first rodeo. I certainly had enough weirdos.
Your share of weirdos, right?
Yeah, this was really.
Do you think it's because, I mean, your style as a DJ was so personal?
Yeah.
You really, as a listener, you knew you, or you thought you did.
Well, that's the thing. I know you have the same thing. People come up to you, they say, "I've listened to you for years, and I feel I know you." And to some degree, you do. I really think that I've cultivated just my own thing. There's not a different persona I have somewhere else. So people really did kind of have a sense of who I was. I did share stories. I guess the whole point for me was, if you're doing your job well, you are connecting with people. That's right. And strangers do see you as a friend.
2013 was when the stalker sort of emerged for you. Did you have a sense right away that this was different?
I think because the very first encounter unknowingly that I had with him, I had lost my dog Smudge, and I had kind of shared that whole journey with my listeners, and in came so many listeners saying, I lost a pet, I did this. We all related to each other. It was not uncommon for me to write back to a stranger and say, I'm so terribly sorry that you had this loss as well. What I didn't know was reaching out to this one person began this entire nightmare of 3 years of stalking. And it was him. And it was really difficult in the beginning because I didn't know his name. I had no idea. Just packages showing up at work. And there was
really weird
stuff. I mean, and there really wasn't anything to identify who it was. So therein lied also the problem in trying to get people to take it seriously, because you call the police if something is left on your doorstep, but you're saying, I don't know who this person is. I've never met them. I'm on the radio.
Right.
They don't know what to do.
Right. And the reason, well, there are many reasons the story is so infuriating, because as someone in this business, like it just makes you so mad that you had to deal with that, first of all, but then you were traumatized over and over and over by what I would describe as a lack of interest and a lack of taking it seriously from the employer standpoint,
Mhm.
but also systemically,
Mhm.
you did finally find a police officer that took you seriously, but that the road to get there is a similar thing that we see every time you get a news story of someone who kills someone else.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh my God, the signs were there.
Absolutely, absolutely. I found somebody to finally listen to my story. This is after 2 years. I think
Did
that,
you worry that you were going to be killed?
of course, he told me he knew where I was every minute of every day. He was so delusional in his thinking, and I've said this before that I believe truly, he believed the delusions were as real to him as the trauma was to me. It was a constant sense of, I know what you're doing. I He threatened to kill my dogs. I mean, it was when someone tells you, "I'm watching you, I know every place you go," you believe them.
And when you brought your fears about that to public radio,
Mhm.
to your bosses, what was the reaction?
I don't blame anyone for not completely understanding if they've never been through something like that, nor had someone they love to go through that. But what would have gone really far, Jason, was a modicum amount of interest in, well, how is this making you feel? I mean, what is this doing to you? Because business as usual is pretty difficult when you're on an afternoon drive show every day trying to be entertaining and smart and elevate, rest, and you're terrified. So
Hmm.
I felt that
And
that
worried probably that you're going to say something that's
Mhm.
going to then trigger the next weird visit or package.
Absolutely, because there was a lot of references to things that I had said on
Ugh.
air, and they were all tied to this very delusional mind. It's a crime, it's a felony, and I don't think that people have an understanding of it, only if it's domestic stalking in which you know the stalker. It's an ex or a landlord or something like that. When it's a complete stranger doing this to you, and it's a person who clearly sees no limit to what they have, no fear of jail, they have no fear of being arrested. It makes it twice as frightening because there's just nothing that will stop them.
Mary Lucia is with us. The book is called What Doesn't Kill Me Makes Me Weirder and Harder to Relate to. Strange to recommend as a Christmas or Hanukkah
Oh,
gift.
makes a great
But
stocking stuffer. Yeah.
but the story, because of the way you tell the
Yeah.
story, there's a lot of music. If you're interested in radio, it's fascinating because we were just talking about Gen X and the impact of Gen X and sort of that age group, our
Mhm.
age group, also has this fascinating sort of window, right?
Mhm.
Where we maybe generationally invented irony in the workplace and detachment,
You bet.
but we also had to come and make a paycheck
Yeah. No,
and
it's real.
do the sponsor and do the read and do the this. And this is sort of this tension of our generation.
Yeah, and it also, with the advent of social media becoming what it is at this point, that I believe the companies start to view you as their brand, and they want that brand to be advertising on all the social medias for their benefit, of course. You don't realize, though, in the wrong hands, it's terrifying.
Yeah. Right. All right. Let's pause right there and do some of the corporate things we have to do.
Always.
So we'll do that. Mary Lucia will join us. We'll stay right here. The name of the book is What Doesn't Kill Me Makes Me Weirder and Harder to Relate to. It's available at all of your local bookstores, and it's on is it on Kindle?
It should be. You should be
I
able
think
to order
so.
it.
I'll
Yeah.
look that up for you. A texter is asking about that. I'll look it up in the break, and we'll be right back because I want you to hear how this story sort of ended. So, yeah, more with Mary Lucia next.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 W.
Mary Lucia is with us. She's been a mainstay on the radio here in the Twin Cities for so long, sharing her personal story, part career sort of retrospective, part a chilling true crime story that happened to her. What Doesn't Kill Me Makes Me Weirder and Harder to Relate to is the name of the book by Mary Lucia, who's with us in studio. So you have this stalker. It gets worse. It's more aggressive. Police are coming to your house now frequently
Mhm.
because this stalker is showing up also.
Mhm.
You stepped away from the Current because you just couldn't, right?
I had to step away because I actually thought I was preparing for a trial, which, haha, that got pushed and pushed and pushed, and then there was competency hearings. So anytime someone tells you your court date's April 5th, it's maybe April 5th of the 2 years later. So I thought I got to take some time away because I'd been under this sort of gag order. I couldn't talk about it. Obviously, I don't want to talk about it on air, but it actually ended up being this sort of 5 months where I was just getting tortured at home. And so, yeah, the frequency in which I was calling the police, and this is something I learned, Jason. Okay, so police are not social workers. They're profilers. They're basically in their car going, that doesn't look right. That might be sus, this, that. I also learned that depending on the time of night you call 911, if you call at 2 a.m., you get a rookie. You get
Mhm.
somebody who's less experienced. I mean, I went through the whole thing. They give you a blue card every time you call. I had my restraining order with me right there on the front porch. How many times I had to go out and give kind of the cliff note version of what was going on to these very perplexed looking law enforcement officers that just didn't understand when I would say, I don't know him. He's been at my house. And then one kind officer said to me, well, don't worry about how he found out where you lived. I mean, he probably just followed you home from work. And I thought, it's really kind of you. It
Mm.
was consistently sort of regarded as, that so somebody likes
Part
you
of
on
the
the
deal.
radio.
You're on the
Yeah, right,
radio.
right.
Yeah.
And it is not.
I think that's generally how it's treated.
It is. It is.
Of course, you have some people obsessed with you. You chose this career. Good luck.
Right, right. And then obviously I think again, like, the better you are at your job about
That's
just
right.
being an authentic person, it's like, oh no, that is really dangerous in the wrong mind.
Yeah. I think reading your book, and I hope law enforcement people read your book because it does, in a way, it gives the rest of us who maybe aren't going through this some better thought about
Mhm.
how you can be supportive.
You
You
know,
did have some support,
I
but
had I had some support. I mean, I had a police sergeant, Sergeant Darcy Horn, and she was exceptional. She was the first person that actually listened. She sat at my dining room table. She was the one I had to do the mugshot list with. She was extremely helpful, and it was the first person after maybe 2 years
mm,
of going through this alone. I guess the thing about stalking is that it's a felony. However, when they come to sentencing, if it's a mental illness, we all know the courts can't mandate mental health help. Obviously, too, this person could go to a halfway house. They will be not locked up. They're free to move about the cabin and just sort of continue on with the same behavior. There's so little to understand unless I can produce a bullet hole or a stab wound. They don't see the damage of 3 years of an obsessive listener. They don't. They want to see the physical marks, and the damage is all inside.
it's called What Doesn't Kill Me Makes Me Weirder and Harder to Relate to. Thank you for writing this book and thank you for visiting with us.
Thanks for having me, Jason.